yourself an army. And boy, let me tell you, did I. And if people think that we're going to stop fighting for our freedom and liberty, they got something coming. All right, you guys, listen. Live tonight. Thank you for joining us on Stand Up, Stand Out America. We're going to have a awesome, I almost said another word. We're going to have an awesome show tonight. I've got some awesome guests. I'm so excited. I'm trying to, let me make sure I got this updated here on my Getter. We are live tonight on Facebook, Instagram. Oh, sorry, not Instagram. Sorry. Oops. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Getter, and Patriot TV Live. We are live tonight. So anyhow, guys, I hope you guys are doing. There's a lot of stuff going down right now, lots of news. So I'm going to introduce you guys to our guest. We're going to have the BC Preacher tonight, Mr. Quincy himself joining us. And then we've got Mr. Angel, better known as the Gold Pills from Instagram. And then you guys, I'm bringing on a special guest. You guys have seen him on my show before, El Luchador. And so I am super excited to have him tonight. And we are going to weigh in on what is going on in the country today, this week, this month, this past month. We're going to talk about all of the, I don't know, just the craziness, madness, the clown world, the everything going on. So anyway, without further ado, I want to introduce you to my guests. Bringing on tonight, we got the BC Preacher in the house.
What's up, Bianca? What's up?
I'm good. We've got Mr. Angel Go Piz in the house.
Go Piz.
Did I say Go
How's
Pills?
it going, you guys?
I know, it's like the Go Pills in the house. And then I've got my buddy. You guys had not really met him or interacted with him, but I got El Luchador de la Gente.
Look. He's getting ready to throw somebody over the rope. The rope.
Hey, you guys think we're bad? This dude is, it's going to get crazy. Guys, listen, I want to thank y'all for joining us tonight on Stand Up, Stand Out America. We are live, like I said, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Getter, Patriot TV Live, and what's my other one? Yeah, Getter, Patriot TV Live. So, guys, we are live on all these, streams and Rumble. We will be live on Rumble. We'll be pulled up on the Rumble in case they censor us. And with Luchador on the line, you never know. I might just get censored because he says some crazy things that come out of his mouth. But anyway, listen, BC Preacher, you've been on my show before. Welcome back. Welcome back. I know you've been on the streets, hitting the streets, doing your thing. Yeah. Angel, you have not been on my show. So real quick, tell us a little bit tell everybody who you are, where they can find you, and then just what you do, Mr. Political Commentator yourself.
Yes.
Sure, yeah. So I guess I would be a political commentator, social media influencer. My name's Angel. I'm from Arizona. Went by Gold Pill Patriot on Instagram. Just recently changed it. Gold Pills with 2 Z's for the people that are still sleeping. One on Instagram and on Twitter. Gold Pill Patriot still on my YouTube channel. They can check me out. Got some interviews on there with some interesting folks, including a defector from the Illuminati families that he grew up in the Vatican. So those are some cool things that people might want to check out. But yeah, so I pretty much just make videos and commentary, and had a couple of videos go viral. So been to a lot of rallies. Done a little bit of activism, worked with some people here in Arizona that were in the House of Representatives, and I actually ran for state house, or was going to run for state house myself. I just didn't get enough signatures. So,
hey, listen, don't give up. We need more luchadores.
I'm gonna do it again. I'm running again. I'm getting ready to re-register, just in a different district now.
Good. I like to hear that. That's awesome. That's awesome news. Hey, you know that Latinos for America First here, we will definitely help out in whichever way that we can. This is amazing news. So, so thank you. So yeah, I'm gonna let my friend El Luchador introduce himself really quick. He's been on my show as well before. But Luchador, what's going on with you, man? Where have you been?
I've been everywhere. You know me, man. I'm all over the country. I just got back from the Northeast. I want to do a little shout out to a couple of our people that watch your show and have seen me on your show before, man. My boys over there in Westchester County up there in New York. Hello, buddies. What's going on? My brothers, John, and Ralphie boy, man. So my boys up there, they listen to you and watch you. And, man, they're excited to be watching again tonight, as they always do. And sometimes they watch live, but they for sure always get the link and tune in, man. So I'm ready to give you guys the lowdown as I've seen it on all of my trips across the nation, man. And it's bad. That's all I'm going to tell you. It's bad, man. But we need more luchadores de libertad out there, man, because, yeah, enough is enough. I'm telling you.
Basta, man. Basta. Listen.
That's right, man. It's
Thank you. Hey, big shout out, man. You guys in Westminster?
Westchester County.
Westchester. Guys, shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for always, being supportive here on the Stand Up, Stand Out America with Bianca. Gracias. Yours truly, La Conservadora Tejana.
They're up there in Westchester, they're known as the 8th tribe of Israel, the Yos.
Wow.
Yo, get it? Like, get it? Yo, Bianca. Yo. Hey, what's going on? It's called the Yo.
You crazy. All right. Hey, guys, let's start this. I want to cover a couple of things with you guys. I want to get your opinions, what you think is going on. Right now we got the China balloon. Is it really a China balloon? Guys, I'm not sure that I'm really this balloon thing. I don't know if I'm really buying into this balloon thing anymore. I mean, China over there is saying, hey, don't be saying we did anything. We don't have nothing to do with that. I mean, I don't know. I'm hearing different stories about people.
But you got to remember one thing, Bianca. The Chinese are a totalitarian state, right? So when they heard the phrase trial balloon, they tried it and they floated it over the United States. That was the official Chinese trial balloon, man. All right, man. What can you tell, man? Totalitarians are pendejos, man. You know what I mean, man? So they just heard the word trial balloon and they said, "Orale, let's go throw one over the United States." Well, God, they didn't know it was going to float on a way across the nation before Biden woke up from a siesta or whatever the hell he was under and decided to finally shoot it down. That pendejo. I'm like, what took you so long, man? I mean, for God's sake, man. You know what? Pelosi's husband would have done a better job. Even that guy with the chicken legs, Pelosi's husband did a better job.
Yeah, they should have took. Hey, bro, they should have took it down with a hammer.
Kidding me, man? Oh, man.
I know.
While they're at it.
Hey, Angel.
They should have warned us. When they showed that video of Pelosi's husband fighting off the attacker, they should have warned us about the graphic nature of the
images.
Legs. Hombre, somebody give that boy some protein shakes. Hey, Pelosi, dale de comer a ese vato, chill out, man, hombre.
You guys, you're cracking me up. Angel, what is your take, man? Before I go to Quincy, hey, what's your take on this Chinese balloon?
I'll tell you right now. I don't believe for 1 second that it was a Chinese balloon.
So you're thinking like me?
No one can convince me for one. No, I'll tell you why. No one can convince me for 1 second that the Chinese have to spy on us using balloons or whatever kind of craft when all they got to do is donate $50 million to the Penn's Biden Institute at Penn State, and he'll give them whatever classified documents they want.
iPhones and everything else.
Boom, bingo. That's a good point, Quincy. What do you think, Quincy?
That is a good point. I didn't think about that, but that's a very good point. But at the same time, we did see a fighter jet go up and pop something up in the air. What was it? I don't know. Because it was
all for show.
It was all for show. But because check this out. Why didn't we see any?
Well, look, because then once the Chinese come out, they have this information. They can be like, oh, they didn't get from Biden. They got balloons. They're using balloons.
But there was no after footage. Everybody saw the airplane, shoot the balloon down, but nobody saw the debris. Nobody was out on any boats, looking at the Navy. Nothing. It all went away until today.
They waited to do it over the ocean too.
Right. After it goes all the way across the land, taking pictures and surveying the land.
Sacred cows of Montana. They didn't want to shoot the balloon down over Montana.
Yeah,
they didn't want to hurt any of the sacred cows. So they got to be a bunch of liberal cows all over Montana. That's
the open highways. They didn't want to hurt nobody.
Oh my! Unbelievable. All I know is, guys, look. Let's all remember one thing, man. don't forget one thing. The Chinese and China, communist China, was a floundering nation. They were about to collapse like the Soviet Union. Then Bill Clinton ran through the Technology Transfer Treaty. Everybody forgets about this. Look it up. Bill Clinton made sure that the Technology Transfer Treaty was passed with a Democrat-controlled Congress. And they passed the Technology Transfer Treaty. Next thing you know, China had stealth aircraft, had stealth ships. They couldn't even keep up a paper plane up in the air, for God's sakes, before that Technology Transfer Treaty. Look it up. That was Bill Clinton. And you wonder why the Chinese were paying him $1 million to go give speeches? But everybody forgets about that. Why don't you look it up? Oh, here it takes a luchador again to find out the truth of how, when, and where the Chinese all of a sudden became technologically advanced. That was it. The Technology Transfer Treaty when Bill Clinton was president. Look it up, guys.
Hey, thanks for telling us that. I wouldn't have known that. Did you guys know that there was this treaty that we had that Bill Clinton did with the Chinese?
Look, man, don't forget the luchador is not only full of muscles, he's got some sesos también, all right, man? So come on, man.
You crazy. Listen, so Angel, let me go back to you, Angel. So look, I just interviewed Nicole from the new federal state of China. She's pretty much told me, Quincy, we met these guys, right? They were at the AmFest.
Yep.
Listen, these guys are like super committed to take down the CCP. So she told me, she said, look, the CCP is infiltrated everything. They're in your DOJ, your FBI, your universities. They're in your government, your legislative body. They're everywhere. They have pretty much bought everything. So, Angel, when you say, listen, they don't really need a balloon to spy. They're already here. So, exactly. Like, what in the world is all this? I think it's a distraction from something. I'm not really sure. But today, now they shot something else out in Alaska.
So UFO, another balloon.
What are they gonna say now? That the green little men from Mars have now it's them. It's really them. Because remember, they're trying to sell us this whole thing about aliens.
If there was any mutilated cows or mutilated chickens, you know who they're gonna blame it on? The chupacabra. That's what they're gonna blame it on, the chupacabra.
Chupacabra. That's old school, dude. Old school. So okay. So Angel, what else what do you think? Any other thoughts on this whole, I don't know, everything that's going on right now, and then today Alaska shooting down something in Alaska?
Yeah, that's news to me. I didn't know about the Alaska thing. If they're going to try to say, I mean, if they're saying it's over Alaska, I mean, they're going to try to say it's a Russian spy balloon or something like that. But I mean, I haven't heard about that myself. I can tell you that, there's a lot, like what aside from what I mentioned earlier and what you just mentioned now about the Chinese infiltrating everything, there's so many more reasons beyond that why there wouldn't be any purpose for them to send a spy balloon to just fly over us. What are they taking pictures of? All the farmland they already own? Like all the property they already own in America? Like it's ridiculous. But you're right. Like if they really wanted to get intel on us, they don't really have to try too hard. We find out all the time that there was people working closely with representatives that turned out to be Chinese spies for the CCP. You had Feinstein's, what's her name? Dianne Feinstein's driver for 20 years turned out to be a Chinese spy. You had Eric Swalwell that Biden put in he was literally balls deep in Chinese espionage. I think her name was Fong Fong. Like they don't really have to do too hard to pull any data from us if they want. They definitely don't have to fill up a balloon with helium and let it fly. Like that just seems like so rudimentary for all, considering all the channels they have to get intelligence from the United States right now. They literally just order it on demand, like we buy their crap from the Wish app.
So here's the thing.
Bianca,
today, while this Alaska thing is being shot down, did y'all hear that Mike Pence got his house raided today by the FBI?
Yeah.
No, I didn't hear it today. I thought he already did.
What?
No.
Okay.
The FBI. Yes. No one was talking about it. Just like a little blurb real quick. I was watching Fox News and I said, is this really true? Because somebody else told me. They heard it on a different channel that, not a media channel. They heard it like different comms, right? That Mike Pence, FBI had raided Mike Pence's house today. And I'm like, I haven't heard that. Well, sure enough, I was tuning into Fox, and I mean, like, they spent 1 minute, 2 minute maybe on this whole, the FBI is at Mike Pence's house. They show the aerial of the house, and they said, the FBI is, pretty much at Mike. And and also he just got subpoenaed by the DOJ. So I'm like, okay, what's going on here? But then everything is about this Alaska, and still now let's bring up the Chinese balloon. So they all want to talk about this. I'm like, something isn't right here, guys. Why? Okay, I'm very curious. I want to know from y'all, because I'm wondering, why are they at Mike Pence's house now? Why is the FBI at Mike Pence's house now? Why?
But it's coming out that everybody has like documents and everything. Everybody has classifieds. Obviously, who else did they get recently? Didn't they get somebody else? Was it Biden's house or something?
Well, Biden, yeah, that was already happened, but Mike Pence.
But they're going after
everybody. What are they going to do down the line? They're going down the line. They started with Trump, and now they're going to go down the line. I mean, what are they? I don't get it.
Doesn't anybody ask the question, or maybe it's proof that Obama never read a paper in his life as president, because he has no papers, obviously. And you know what? That goes back to the fact that a lot of people don't even think he's an American. So he has no papers. Literally, he has no papers. He's not even an American, for God's sake. Because it's funny that the FBI is not even worried about Obama having any secret documents. You know what I mean? That guy obviously never read a memo in his life, for God's sakes, I'm just saying.
But literally,
we didn't think that they go after Pence or even Biden. I mean, they went to Biden's house. I mean, we didn't even think that. So I mean, who knows? I mean, Obama could be next. Who knows? I mean, I don't know.
Nah, are you kidding me? They'll never go after Obama.
He's like, because he was the black savior.
And it's Black History Month. Don't forget, it's Black History Month, so they ain't gonna go after him. Hell no, man. You gotta.
There'll be a riot. There'll be a riot. There'll be a riot.
Speaking of that, when I first heard of that movie Wakanda Forever, I thought that was about the Democrats, having control over the black community, because they've had the black communities walk under their heels forever. You know what I mean? That's for sure.
That's for sure. Angel, what do you think about this whole Mike Pence getting raided today? I mean, what are you hearing from you're on mute? What are you hearing out in there in Arizona? Oh, is he coming? He's cutting out.
He's cutting out.
I didn't hear about it myself. I heard about the balloon up in Alaska or UFO, but I want to talk real quick about that, because you mentioned something that they're trying to blame aliens, right, Bianca? You said you mentioned that.
Yeah.
So if you think about that, the more that they can get the American people, us as citizens, to believe in aliens, because if you actually think, and this is on a more of a biblical tip, but the second coming of Christ, when he raptures and takes away his body, the church, are unbelievers actually going to believe it was Jesus Christ? They're not, because America's already going to be telling people it was aliens who abducted people.
Oh my gosh.
That's what they're going to be saying.
Yeah.
You're talking about Project Bluebeam now.
Hey, that's a good point. Let me tell you. And you saw that the FBI now says that Catholics are, that they're the extremists, right? So Are they setting up? Are they setting up for something? You're right.
You guys want to know something?
What's up?
Let me tell you something. I grew up in this real conservative Christian church, and they were a non-denominational church, and they followed the ministry of a man that they revered as a prophet. His name was William Branham.
Oh my God!
William.
No way!
Yeah.
We were just talking about this man.
My family knew him. My pastor of my church was a good friend of his. The pastor of my church when I growing up was brother Brother Green, Greene.
Mm-hmm.
The pastor Perry Green. If you look up the life of William Branham, Perry Green followed him since he was 16 years old and watched a miracle performed when he prayed for somebody. He had clubbed feet and they straightened out in front of him.
I've heard that. Yes.
When he was 16 years old, Perry told me this story himself. I'm best friends with his grandson. I grew up in that church.
Wow.
And Perry told me that when he was 16, he went to this face healing event, campaign, whatever, of William Branham's. He had heard about him. He came to Indiana. Perry lived in Indiana. He went to the event and they asked, William Branham asked everyone to bow their heads, close their eyes. He said out of respect, he wanted to do it. but he could not stop himself from leaving his eyes wide open to see what was going to happen. And he said he saw this woman's feet that were clubbed for all her life straighten out on the stage in front of him when she was prayed for. Ever since that day, he followed William's ministry. They ended up becoming close friends. He was the pastor of our church. William Branham spent a lot of time out here in Arizona, a lot of time up in the Catalina Mountains. His house is out here. I know his grandkids, all of that. So anyway,
Wow.
I remember all the things that my grandparents told me and that I read in his ministry. There's 1,600 sermons of his that are recorded on audio. You can go to voiceofgodrecordings.com and listen to them. This is stuff he said in the 30s, 40s, 50s. I'm going to tell you this. He described a future America that was so sexually immoral and corrupt, and that there would be a corrupt woman that would rise to power in the United States and a corrupt pope that would rise to power in the United States, and that there was going to be some kind of economic collapse and California was going to sink and the pope and the Catholic Church would step in and try to buy us out. But before that would happen, we were going to be consumed by what he referred to as a new ism. He said we have, at this time he's talking about this, there had been 2 world wars. He said this in the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. He said there was going to be a new ism that would rise up in America that he said would be a blend of communism, Nazism, and fascism, but something of its own, a new ism. I believe that is the cult of wokeism. And he said it would spread throughout the country. And at this time, there was going to be things like cars that would drive themselves. And he was talking about these different technologies that we would have, cars that drive themselves and stuff like that. And then he mentioned something about Russia. He talks about, if you guys look up his sermon entitled, one was entitled Mark of the Beast and the other one is entitled, I can't remember. He talks about this often because he saw it in a vision where an angel told him, pointing at a map, told him, watch Russia, watch Russia. And what's interesting about that is this was right around the time, I think, of the Soviet Union, the Cold War, which ended in the 80s, 20 years after he died. And then Russia was reestablished as a country again. Who would have known that would have happened in the future? But it happened. He said the angel told him to watch Russia. We would be in a third world war set with Russia. It would be nuclear, that there would be bombs dropped on America. There would be a bomb dropped on the Vatican. He said all this was going to happen, but first there was going to be a purpose economic collapse of America. He said if people knew what was coming in this country in the next 50 years, you would get rid of your TVs and chop up your credit cards. That's what he said in the 50s.
Ooh. Wow.
I'm telling you, go back and listen to this guy's sermons. He talked about this in explicit detail, and the more that things progress in our society today, the more things pop into my head that I remember from these sermons that my grandparents, before they died, would sit me down and said, this man is a prophet, and these things are going to happen, and you'll see it in your lifetime. Pray.
Wow.
Yeah, see, I've heard about him. He's Pentecostal.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was just in a car.
He left the Pentecostal church and became non-denominational.
Yeah, non-denominational. Yeah. I just literally, I had not heard the name. I had not heard the name, but I literally was with 2 apostles, prophets. This past week, I was driving them and I was interpreting for them. And William Branham came up with both of them. And I said,
No, really? The serpent seed?
Yes. They believe serpent seed. If you look up serpent seed doctrine on Wikipedia, William Branham and the word white supremacy both come up in that article.
Wow.
So
I'm not playing.
So I'm going to have I want to have Luchador because Luchador, I know you are a professor, Catholic. You're a practicing Catholic. I want to hear your feedback on the Pope because I don't think you really care for the Pope. Per se.
There's a few things. First of all, the FBI is a political run organization now. The fact that they're going after Catholics, again, just shows that history repeats itself. 250,000 between 1922 and 1929 in an era of history known as the Cristiada. That was all under the rule of a socialist president named Plutarco Elias Calles. One of his most famous phrases that he used constantly was that we must take control of the mind of the youth.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you control the mind of a youth, you have an entire generation that has not been educated, but indoctrinated.
Mm-hmm.
In the United States, we now have at least 2 generations of indoctrinated people.
Yep.
And it's only now coming to light because of the wokeism, the outward wokeism that is now prevalent throughout every public educational system in the United States. Everyone. The FBI now going after the Catholics is history repeating itself. And history only repeats itself when good people sit around and listen to sermons and do nothing.
Mm.
Yeah. Yes.
These sermons,
You're 100.
these sermons have been around for years, but yet everybody just listens to them as
That's
part of what? Ghost stories to tell their kids? No. These are not going to be ghost stories to tell your kids. These are going to be the actual end of your kids' life.
Lives, yeah, and ours.
And ours, yeah.
Yep.
If no one does
We have to
anything.
stop talking and we have to start doing. The reason why America is becoming apathetic is because there is too much talk from constitutional freedom-loving Americans and not enough action. This is what people are sick and tired of. I being one of them. The reason I have to wear a mask and show up as a luchador, because if I were to show my face working for large multinational corporate America, I would be fired overnight. I do not have the privilege of being independently wealthy. I have to provide for my family. So I have to wear a mask to be able to speak freely in today's America. Think about that.
Yeah.
And think about how much we have gone downhill. We are facing totalitarianism, is what we're facing. And the scary part is this totalitarianism is now 100% funded by other totalitarian countries that we have fully supported. China is funding this fully.
Mm-hmm.
And for them to, I'm almost at the point now that it's like, people, everybody's got to wake up to what's going on and stop talking, stop listening to sermons, and start acting. Because we are the last beacon of freedom left in the world, man. And what do we have to do? What is it going to take? They're killing Republicans in New Jersey, for God's sakes. 2 of them already. Assassinated them. Oh, but to the LGBTQ, BLM, FDI, those aren't hate crimes, are they?
You're right. No one's even talking about that.
Can you imagine if they would have killed 2 Democrat congressmen in a conservative area of the country? Immediately the FBI would be down there arresting people. Immediately they'd be calling it a hate crime. But when 2 Republicans, one of which was a young black woman, a Republican black woman in New Jersey, was just assassinated, oh, that's not a hate crime, is it? Where you at, LGBTQ, BLM, FBI? Where you at?
Hey, someone tried to stab a representative too, and I think it was even a Democrat representative, and it was a young progressive that tried to stab them on stage or something, right? Didn't he get arrested and then released?
No, I knew they tried to stab the guy that was running for governor in New York, and that guy's free.
Yeah.
That guy's
Yeah. That's the one. That was the one. That guy wasn't even in jail for like 24 hours. They're just catching and releasing these people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
catch and release.
Meanwhile,
They want turmoil. They want there to be these kind of things. They want these Gotham villain type kids out on the streets doing this stuff and
The
creating
place is fear.
and angst and anxiety amongst the general public. That's what they want.
you know who did that, guys? Look up 1930s Germany.
Yep.
Exactly what they did. This is exactly what they did. Not only that, but the master genius stroke of the Nazis was mixing propaganda with education and entertainment.
Yep.
That was
They
the
had all
master genius
celebrities.
stroke of Joseph Goebbels, the propaganda minister.
Yep.
He geniusly mixed propaganda with entertainment and education. I'm telling you, the luchador is a genius, guys.
Okay, so let me let me ask this, because I've been asking this for like years, and there's most of the answers I get are not going to do nothing, because I keep hearing, just like you was mentioning, that we got to do something. We got to stop listening to sermons, listen to people speak, doing these type of things, and we need to do action. What's the action we need to do? Because in my humble opinion, I think all the school board stuff, all these type of things that we try to get involved in, don't do nothing. That's why we're still here.
Okay, unfortunately,
Hold on, Luchador. Let him ask. Hold on.
My thing is, like, what needs to happen? I know what needs to happen. I have my opinion what needs to happen, but I don't think America and people in general are ready to do what needs to happen. So what's the alternative to what needs to happen?
That's amazing you say that, because you know what? You're asking the same question that Germans asked in 1930s Germany. You're asking the same question. So the answer is obvious. The answer is obvious. Unless we're going to go down the same road as 1930s Germany, the answer is obvious. Or do we want 500 million people to be killed all over again across this nation and across this hemisphere? Because the next war is not going to be in Europe. The next world war is going to be here. It's going to be here. It's going to be all over this place here. You know what I mean? And here's the deal. And it's frustrating, but I'm going to almost use a paraphrase. We have to storm the Bastille. We have to do. We have to storm the Bastille again. Well, who is the Bastille? The Bastille are all of the politicized judicial offices of this nation, because they're no longer about justice. They're about indoctrination, and pushing through a woke ideology. They're no longer about justice,
They're activists.
Every time people start rallying for freedom, the parents, who goes after them? The FBI. Who's the one who went after all of the January 6 people? The FBI.
Right.
Who goes after everybody? The FBI. And who politicized the FBI? Obama.
Yep.
But here's the problem, though, because most believers, no matter what it is of any faith, what do we do? They say we need to pray. We need to pray.
Oh yeah,
We got. Well, here's the issue.
We got to do something. We got to do something more than pray.
I mean, absolutely. Thank you for saying that.
If the apostles sat around and just prayed, we wouldn't be here today.
Hey, and how many of those guys changed the entire world?
Yes.
That's proof that all it takes is a few dedicated people to change the world. They took on the Roman Empire, for God's sakes. Did they not?
Yep.
Most of them were beheaded and fed to lions. And
exactly. Hey, look, man. If that means saving my children, then feed me to the lions, for God's sakes. My gosh, man. All I know is, like, here's the problem, though, guys. The left, the totalitarian, they're smart, man, because they have taken control of the court system in the United States as well. Yes. They have taken full. Yep. See, this is what I'm talking about. They use our own constitution against us. They have taken one of the branches of our entire nation, the judicial branch, right? Think about it, right, guys? And they have taken it and politicized it against freedom.
Freedom. Yep.
The entire judicial has been taken over.
Yeah.
The entire judicial system has been taken over, man.
So I mean, you guys are speaking some obvious facts. You know, one thing that you have to be careful now, you can't say storm. You can't say storm because you're going to get visited by the FBI because what are you trying to storm? So, you know, this is America we're living in.
Hey, the left gets to storm buildings.
The left, not only does the left get to storm buildings, they get to burn down entire cities and nobody goes after them. How come the FBI hasn't even arrested anybody for all the buildings and all the cities that were burned down to the ground? I was in Philadelphia's 5th Ward right after the riots, and man, I've never seen a community walking around in such hopelessness in my life. And it broke my heart to see my African-American brothers and sisters walking around hopeless. I've never seen that. I've gone coast to coast. I've been blessed in what I do to be able to see. And I've seen the complete demoralization of the African-American community. By who?
Yeah.
By the people that they vote for nonstop, man. Nonstop, they vote for them.
Yeah.
You know, and they don't listen to anybody. And that's the whole thing is, you know what, man? That's one thing that the Republicans keep reaching out for them. And who do they not reach out for? They should be reaching out to us, the Latinos, man. The Latinos, and we will lead by example. We're the majority minority, for God's sakes. We are the majority minority in this nation, man. You know that? But nobody pays attention to us. Nobody pays attention. Instead, they focus on the illegals. Hey, look, man. Enough of that. How about you focus on the millions and millions and millions of legals, Hispanic Americans? Because you know what? We vote. We vote.
Freaking luchador, man, bringing it to the fire. Hold on a second. I want to get Angel. Angel had a reaction here. Angel, you were going to say something. I want to hear what you got to say. This is getting heated up in here, man.
Nah, you know, I have a friend, you know, he's an older guy. He's a little older than me. And I grew up in the 90s, and I remember the riots, the Rodney King riots. And what's funny was my friend who is he's from a an old predominantly black neighborhood in my city. And it's the neighborhood, there's only 2 neighborhoods in my city where pretty much all the BLM activists come from. And that's one of them. And he's like an OG in that neighborhood. They respect him. But he told me that he said that the whole BLM riots and all that was all orchestrated. He said it had to be because the timing was too perfect. I said, what do you mean? He said, it's been 30 years since the Rodney King riots, and Watts and Compton and all these places have barely economically recovered from it. They reached the point of economic recovery. And then instead of like in the old days when the Democrats would ride into town and burn Black Wall Street to the ground with horses, instead they got their minions to do it.
Right.
Got their own, they did. They literally, I mean, it's like I said, guys, it breaks my heart to see these communities walking around now hopeless. You see it in their eyes. I was in the Philadelphia 5th Ward, man, right after the riots, and it broke my heart to see Americans with that look of hopelessness in their eyes. I was just in New York, and Manhattan is a pigsty, man. It's unbelievable, you know?
Something crazy? I could show you right now where I'm sitting right now, where I was sitting at when I jumped on here. You guys couldn't see because I'm in the car. It's dark outside. But literally, I'm in the tip of the blade here in Phoenix. Like the inner cities here, where it is Democrat controlled and they had all this activism going on and stuff. I sit here and watch it all day. You know what I do for a living, right, Quincy?
Yeah.
So I go into places sometimes where there's, you know, I'm in some bad places. And I mean bad. I mean like places where if you looked at it and imagined for a second a human that you personally knew was living there, you would cry. And I know a lot of humans living there. And when I go to these places in the inner city, all I can think is that our system, our policies, our policymakers, our legislators, our society at large has somehow miserably failed to show up for ourselves. And I think this from decades of indoctrinating our people for generations like Luchadores said, to get them to be pacifist or to feel like the government's going to come in and fix this somehow. And if they just sit back and do nothing but in their heart of hearts so virtuously support the good thing that the government's going to do, that is enough. And then someone else will come in and fix it. And that's a problem. And what happens?
Another thing, we're doing a horrible job of even reaching out even to the immigrants that are coming into this nation. Here's the deal. Look, this is a very, very, very pivotal, key, but very basic point that we've missed. Sometimes we always miss the obvious, right, guys? Okay. So in all of these nations that these Latino immigrants are coming from, they are all failed socialist nations. All of them. All of them, right? However, another thing, in those nations, the government, because they're socialist failed states, owns all of the wealth of the nation. Do y'all understand that? So when people hear that the government is giving people money, they're like, oh, well, of course, because they own all the wealth, right? In the United States of America, however, the government owns nothing. The government, every dollar that the government has, it has taken away from me, you, and you. And when it gives it to somebody else, that's not welfare. That's theft.
Thank you.
But we are doing a horrible job of educating our people to the point that in the United States of America, the government has no money, has no wealth. The United States of America government, all of the money it has through what? Taxation of its citizens.
Coercion, force.
Right.
So to get money, to take money from the government. I was raised as a Latino American to think of that as immoral. It was immoral to take welfare. It was immoral to take food stamps. It was immoral. It was immoral. And you know why? Because my family knew that was taken from other taxpayers. And my grandfather would say, mira, con brazos, nunca voy a dejar que me dé ningún centavo ese gobierno.
That's right.
And what happened?
That's why they fear the Latino community. Because we're more conservative.
More conservative. You're willing to work.
We're constitutionally conservative than anybody else in this country.
And we're the only workers out there. Trust me. I know that. I know that.
Everywhere.
Hey,
I travel.
Look.
I hear that everywhere. You go to the smallest town back east or middle America.
Anywhere.
A restaurant of any ethnicity you choose, and every kitchen's filled with Mexicans.
That's right. That's right, man. We're cooking.
And those people there will tell you, like, I don't want to sound racist, but we only hiring Mexicans. These people work. Like, they show
up. Man. We're cooking Italian food, French food, Thai food, Chinese food. We're cooking everything, man. We're making crepe Suzette.
Barbecue, southern barbecue.
At the same time, man. You know what I mean? Oye, te sobró masa. The crepe Suzette. Órale, pues ponte una tortilla ahí, güey. Come on, man. That's who we are, man. You know?
But that's like what Bianca said, which is a good point, because like you said, by nature, it's conservative. You don't want to depend on the government. You don't want to depend on social programs. You want to be a hard worker.
That's what we need to remind these immigrants coming over, man. Now.
And
we got. I'm telling you, we're losing it because we Latinos, we know what it means to work. But another thing is,
hold on. Wait. Yeah, no, hold on. Time out. Luchador gets too fired up. Angel, go, because I have another question, and we're like rolling here. Angel, go. Hold on, Luchador. I know you're fired up.
I like this guy.
I knew you were gonna like. Did I tell you, Luchador? I said, Luchador, you're gonna like these guys.
Now look. See, this is the thing, is that there needs to be a renewal of the mind. The problem is not that the kids are being indoctrinated. The problem is that the parents are not heavily involved in the kids' lives and learning activities in the first place. The problem is that, again, when we've been trained for decades to let government fix the problem, then we think when there's issues with our kids, their education or anything, we depend on the education system or some kind of public system to correct it for us as parents. And that is what needs to stop. The problem is we need to get everyone to understand the importance of, like you said, this is going to be the end of ours and our children's lives. If you love your kids, you're going to stand up and you're going to try to make the correction once you know you've been wrong, even if you've made the mistake this whole time of trusting government or whatever. You got to stand up and correct that in yourself and turn around and then tell the kids and say, hey, there used to be a time when, like, you know, not trusting the government was really punk rock and like the cool thing to do. And we need to bring it back, because whatever you got going on right now is lame.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like you said, Angel, it's been going on for decades. And if we think about this, because we're looking at the youth, right? We're talking about the youth that is being indoctrinated. But if you really think about it, the parents have been indoctrinated. Because back in the 90s, think about this. Back in the 90s, what was starting to happen with the parents regarding children in school? Remember, well, right, but they were starting to say, you cannot discipline your children. You cannot spank them. Remember, all that type of stuff was being indoctrinated to the parents back then.
The government
was getting involved.
It was cruel and unusual punishment.
Punishment to discipline your child. Then the parents had to start listening to the children, listening to how they feel about, oh, this teacher's being mean to me, or this teacher's disciplining me. Okay, so the parents started going into that whole indoctrination stuff. And then guess what? Now the children nowadays can talk back at 10 years old, 15 years old. They can talk back to a 40-year-old.
Yep. No respect. So hold on, because I know, listen, I want to ask one other question, because I think this is super important. We're bringing up topics. We talk about, the China balloon. We're talking about aliens. We're talking about Jesus, the coming. They're trying to make something happen so that we think, oh, it's the aliens that happened, it's aliens that did it. So here's my question moving forward. And I know, look, action. Luchador, you said it. We have to stop sitting in our pews, praying and thinking everything's going to be okay. Action. But I always say, okay, because I don't want anybody coming and knocking on my door and, oh, Bianca, you're going to go and do something, or I don't know, whatever. They're going to assume something, right? We got to do everything. I always tell people we got to use the laws that they've already passed against them. Join or die. Oh, Lord have mercy. Listen, so we gotta we gotta take action legally. Okay.
Yes, that's the key.
Gotta use the what they've given us and use it against them. Okay. So we gotta be smart. Okay. So here's the thing. Republican, Democrat, you got a party that's so wokeism, liberal, Looney Tune, out of, like, you can't even recognize them anymore. But there are still some Democrats out there that I have, with their met, and they're like, we don't agree with any of that. Like, there's infighting, but you don't see it because they're not like, it's like they're little sheep, right? So they're afraid to say something, but there is infighting with them. There's a lot of Democrats, blue dog Democrats that don't, or what is it? Yellow dog Democrats that don't really believe in that. Now, Republican Party, okay, they give us a bunch of talking points and the optics, and they act like they're going to come and do all these good things for us, but they really don't. So where do we stand on this? Look, I really want to get y'all's take on this. I mean, the people out here, there's no one that I knew that was wanting, what's it called? That was wanting Mitch McConnell, or they didn't want Mitch McConnell, and they didn't want Ronna McDaniel. But yet, here we go. We got not McConnell, I'm sorry, McCarthy. We got McCarthy, and we got Ronna McDaniel again. I'm going, there's no one that I knew, no one that wanted these people in charge anymore. People wanted to go a different direction. Why are we still sitting in these places? What is it going to take that, I mean, listen, everybody says local activism, get involved in the party. I've been there, done it. It doesn't work. They use their money and their power and their system to come after you. It's really difficult. So I want to get your take on this whole moving forward. what it is that we're going to have to do, okay? Because we're going to have to work harder and smarter with new strategies. So what are we going to do moving forward? Because this is it, 2024. I mean, I don't know what else to say. And I get it. I know you guys are saying what has to happen. I get that. But
Well,
what are we going to do right now?
I'd like to throw something in on this.
Go ahead.
So the ultimate idea is that, can we all together stop what's going to happen to save any of our fellow countrymen? That's the idea. I'm gonna put everything that I have on the table now and say no, you can't. Nope. But the idea to me is not to save everybody. That's not the idea to me. What you said, I think, is real important, Bianca. You said that they've created a legal system that they've used to shield themselves, protect their assets, protect them from consequences of wrongdoing. This is a system that's been around forever. The thing is prior to the creating of the United States legal system, this was something that was only accessible to people in the highest hierarchy of the caste system, royalty. Royal families have gotten away with a lot of shit in this world. They're the largest landowners. They will take whatever they want. The fact is, though, is that they do this by taking over, colonizing, and then creating their new legal system that these people have to live under. No Indian lived under this legal system until the British came and took over India, right? They did this systematically. America is one of those colonies, and people don't realize that we are one of those colonies that, through the manipulation of our legal system, were placed back under the rule of the crown. This is why you have a crown or an eye or a triangle or something, all these intelligence agencies logos. So once you start realizing the connection there, you see that the system they created here, which was a legal system to help shield their assets and their activities, is something that now is accessible to more than just the royals. Yeah. They had to provide diplomatic immunity to a lot of people, especially people that are in high office here that are not part of the royal family. The only way to give that to them was to make a legal system where it was open for everybody, which means there's an entrance somewhere for all of us. So maybe the idea is not necessarily to stop this big calamity thing we know that's coming, this huge takeover, and save other people, because honestly, I don't think we can save anybody. But I do think, excuse me, I do think for certain that if you want to find the channels to get access to these apparatuses in the legal system to protect you, to protect your to protect your private property rights and things of that nature, because that's what it is. They are getting us all to agree by business contract in one way or another, engaging in these contracts with them wherein they absolutely can circumvent your individual human rights and your constitutional rights. But it's only contract. So many people are involved in activities in the United States with their personal information, with their estate, and in the legal system that is entrapping them in these contracts, and they don't know it. So to me, I think that the idea would be to educate as many people as possible. Basically, we need to level up, find our people, start our community, and make sure that we are able to be protected and our assets are able to be protected, and we don't lose everything like our private property rights and our right to travel when all this goes down, because that's what they're going to do to most people, except for the ones that figured out what those crowns and those eyes in the triangle are about.
So you're talking about something that I kind of have a little bit of knowledge on. I don't know if that's what you're really talking about, but before you go there, Quincy, what's your take on this?
Ask the question again. What's the question again?
My question is, what do we do to move forward, in a rightful way? Obviously, we're not going to try to come around and, because they want, that, hello, I'm on everybody's radar. Okay. Right. They watch everything I do, everything. They watch what I do. They watch what I tweet. They watch everything. They watch what we all do, but I am literally under a microscope. So, I have to be careful, but legally, what is it that you think? I'm talking about this Republican Democrat.
Right. Legally,
how they sold us out. The Republican Party, was over here. Vote for us. We're going to be the change. But yet we send them to office, and then they put McCarthy back in, and then they put Ronald McDaniel back in.
So here's the thing. Legally, I think we've done everything we could do. Legally, I think we've done everything we could do. People have got involved, right? two of you guys on here have ran in your districts. So we're doing things legally. It's not getting done.
Right.
And so what has happened is we can say the left, we can say the minions, we can talk about what Angel's talking about with the hierarchy and all of this type of stuff. Somehow that has to be brought down. And the only way it can be brought down, honestly, is going back to what the Black Robe did, which takes the nation of Christian people, of the faith leaders, to do what the Black Robe did. That's how this stuff gets reversed. This is how people have to stand up. But again, when is that going to happen? Is it going to happen? Are we too comfortable? And I think we are.
No,
I don't think enough people are fed up, because you're like what Angel's talking about. That's some deep dark pockets. And who wants to sell out and even go that route? You're talking about Mason stuff. What Angel's talking about. You're talking about masonry type of stuff, getting involved at 33 and all that type of jazz. Nobody wants to sell out and do that. That's some that's witchcraft stuff. That's devilish. That's demonic stuff. Who wants to get involved in that? Nobody hardly. But that's who's at the top of all this.
But
Because
I think that's why the remnant.
We have to keep it.
Right, it's witchcraft. It's through spell casting.
Right. We have to keep it.
Words, spells are written words.
Yes,
words.
Yep.
So all these contracts and stuff they do with us and our social and our identities. Yeah, this
all
is
that.
Right.
And
But
so
they talk about in the Bible that the remnant, there is a remnant.
There is a remnant.
I am seeing that.
Okay, there is, but what's it going to be? The Black Robe was that remnant then. What did the Black Robe do? I know he's
something on, boy. Oh boy,
he's getting ready to go off.
He's gonna blast something. Okay, hold on.
I feel like this is gonna end in fire right now.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Before Luchador, look, oh boy. Okay, so I just want to say something I want to go back and say something to you, Angel, regarding what you talked about. I was not recently, but within the last year, educated about the very thing that can be done. And they don't educate people except the top of the chain, right? They know what they can do. So is it safe to say it online? I mean, at this point, it doesn't really matter. It's not common knowledge, but it is there.
It's something that popularity. And I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of conflicting and confusing information out there. There's a handful of people that have gone through this process and it does work, but it's very, very complicated. It's very complicated on purpose, but I'm going to tell you right now.
Not the one that I was schooled on.
Hold on. Like Quincy said, this is witchcraft. Here's the thing. All witchcraft and all the saying and stuff, you have to at some point in some way, in somehow agree or align with it in order for it to work. People not this route. These are contracts. So the thing is that even though these are contracts that they're doing this to enslave people by, there always has to be an out. They had to leave an out for themselves.
They did.
Not telling us about it, but there is an out.
There is an out. That's what I'm saying. There is a way for you to protect everything like they do. Protect everything that belongs to you.
Talk a little bit about it, just so people know that it's not as complex as you might imagine. A portion of it is not very complex. A portion of it has to do with trust.
Yes, you do know. You know what I know.
Hey, look, hold on. If you look at the wealthiest people on the planet, the very powerful people, what do they own?
The trust. They have a
trust. They don't own anything.
Oh no! Yes, you're right. They don't own anything. Yes.
The trust owns their stuff, but
everything.
These are special types of trust that will protect your assets from any third-party access, including governments and agencies,
including taxing. You will pay no taxes.
Yes, tax havens. A lot of people don't realize this, but you can do it even if you're not a wealthy elite. Did you know that there are tax-free trust for W-2 employees?
Yeah.
Dude, there's so much out there that people don't know about. You don't have to be a plebe. You don't have to be a serf. You don't have to be a slave. You don't have to suffer in the system. You don't have to be without money. You don't have to be without access to resources. None of that. I don't care if you're born to what family you're born to or who you know or who's a Mason. It don't even matter. This is Everyone can access this. All you have to do is learn about it, because they teach their kids about it generation after generation. We
Yes,
don't.
they do.
Generation after generation, we know all the new pop stars and all the
Can
celebrities,
you imagine?
every
Can
movie
you
that comes out, but we don't teach our kids about specialized trusts.
Yes.
Like
So you know what? Can you imagine if we taught our Latino community, who is the hardest working community here in this nation, how to protect themselves, okay, and not be owned by the government, owe anything to the government? They would be screwed. They don't want us to know this stuff.
Right now, after those riots, when shit burnt down, Master P showed up in the hood, told all of them, look, I get it. You're upset. All that. We can't be destroying our own neighborhood. Why are you over here mad at the white man burning that building down when there's 50 of you in this place right now that could get together, get a loan somehow, and go and buy this project building, and then you own? What's the wrong with that? You're mad at the white man for owning everything in the hood. You're mad at the government for owning these government buildings. Why aren't you guys getting together and purchasing these? But then what's the next step from that? You protect it. You set up the trusts. Now, if that starts happening, the government's not buying up the block. The WEF ain't buying up the block. All this stuff was set up for BLM to come in and burn these buildings down, so rich millionaire, billionaire developers
revamp it.
and swoop it up at pennies on the dollar. It is a transfer of wealth.
Yep.
For wealthy from the
It's called gentrification.
Okay.
They call it gentrification. That's what it's called. Gentrification.
So I'm gonna get back to you because I know, Luchador, you were holding yourself. You're like, oh my gosh. I know you had something to say. I know I wanted to get Quincy and Angel out there and say what they needed to say. But Angel, I'm glad we're on the same page. I think we know kind of the same thing. I've been briefed on. And so this is good.
Brief me on it.
I know. Look, Quincy's
like, y'all had to brief me on
it. Hey, brother, we got this is gonna be look, Angel, you I think you have pretty much inspired something in me that through the educational programs that I want to put in place, this needs to be one of the topics.
Before we end this and I'm let Luchador speak here, I just want to drop one more piece of knowledge here. Save up some money and buy a book by Edwin Vieira Jr. It's a book called Pieces of Eight, and it's about the monetary powers and disabilities of the United States Constitution.
Okay. I'm going to be texting Angel after the show.
I know. What is it? Edwin what?
Edwin Vieira Jr. Viera Jr.
Okay. Got it.
Of Eight. You can find it on Amazon, but be prepared to drop like $300.
Damn. Woo. For a book?
Woo.
Wow. Okay. All right. Hey, it's a good investment. It's a good investment. Okay. Luchador, I want to hand it over to you because I know that you were like losing your mind over there about what we were talking about.
It's something that's going to freak you guys out. I am in the financial services industry. On my walls are certifications that have me as a financial certified consultant. Everything you're saying, Angel, is 100% true. And I've tried to educate my Latino community on trusts and the importance of hiding money legally in this nation from the government. Pero son tercos.
Hey, a mí no me dijiste nada.
Oh, because you still want to keep the money under el colchón. That's the problem, man. That's where all the Latinos keep the money al colchón. Y la mujer se la mete aquí en el brasier. I mean, come on, let's be honest, you know.
My mom called it the vault.
There you go, bro. So you know what I'm talking about, right? Oh my God, man. So here's the deal.
Go ahead.
I said it earlier. The totalitarian movement has taken full control of the judicial system. And when I'm talking about the judicial system, they own every levels of courts. They own the district attorneys, for God's sakes. They own everybody, okay? Don't forget, George Soros went and literally funded the election of every district attorney in every major city. Why did George Soros do that? Look that up. Why did he do that? Few reasons. One of the reasons was for the fact that, again, they could control the judicial persecution of their enemies through the district attorney. The second reason why he went around and bought district attorney offices across the nation is because the DA certifies the election. Joseph Stalin said, "It matters not who votes or how many vote. It matters who counts the votes."
Wow.
Yep.
We have to take back the judicial. Not at the Supreme Court level where all the pendejo Republicans focus on, at the local level, starting at justice of the peace. We have to take over the courts, guys. We as Latinos have to expose all of the injustices that are being done to our people, being arrested, being thrown in jail, being given outrageous bail amounts just for having a domestic fight con their Sancho or with their wife or their girlfriend or whatever. I mean, this is all. And why? Because they know that we Latinos have what? Have the money because we work. Meanwhile, a BLM person gets arrested and they let him out bail free. Why? Because they know they don't got no damn money. But they'll arrest a Latino and put a $50,000 bail or $10,000 bail. Why? Because they know we have the what? We have the money because we work, man.
My brother's bail was a quarter of almost was 150,000, bro.
What? Am I speaking the truth or not?
Yeah, no, yeah, I've seen it happen.
This is the real injustice is the judicial system completely going after Latinos because we got the money, man. And they know we have the money because they know we work. That's simple, man. But they've taken over the judicial. They've taken it over. That's how they keep us quiet. That's how they keep us scared. That's how they keep us completely placated. So we have to do something. We have to get real attorneys that are going to fight for us. There's a couple of organizations. The Alliance for Defending Freedom is a great organization that goes out there and fights, but they mainly fight for First Amendment rights. But we have to develop our own Latino defense fund. Another thing is we have to develop a national movement of Latinos, and I've come up with a name for one, and I've spoken to Bianca about it, and you know what it's called? It's called Órale. And that stands for, are you ready? No, I don't want to tell you, but it's called Órale Cubed. All right? Órale Cubed, all right? And that is a group that Bianca and I are putting together. Right, Bianca? Are you still going to be with me on that?
I'm 100% with you, man.
All right, man. Because it's time we start getting the rewards that we deserve for building and continuing the infrastructure and the jobs and everything that we do in this country. We fix cars, we fix houses, we fix planes, we fix ships, we fix everything. We build roads, we build houses, we build apartments, we build condominiums, we build skyscrapers, we build everything in this country, man. For
landscaping.
We do it all. But it starts with, again, getting the judicial system. Then this whole thing, man, we as Latinos have to, again, remind our own people why there's even such a thing as illegal immigration. Who created that if not the Democrat Congress back in the 50s to stop the Bracero movement of legal migrant workers coming to the United States to work and then go back, right? But they stopped that. The Democrats stopped that. And they created immigration laws. And you know why they did that? Because they couldn't unionize them.
Yep. They had
because they couldn't unionize them. And who controlled the Democrat Party other than the unions back in the 50s? So because they couldn't unionize them, next thing the Democrats came up with, the same racist Democrats came up with immigration laws.
Jeez.
Yep.
I'm telling you, the luchador is a genius of history and politics. But
We don't
nobody
let
talks
history-
about this.
Yeah,
Hey,
we don't-
Nobody talks about
Salvador,
this, guys.
let me ask you something, bro. Well, how ironic is it that the kids that are at these open borders rallies have pictures of Cesar Chavez on their shirt and they're chanting "Si se puede"?
Unbelievable.
Explain the irony of that for people.
Exactly, man. I'm just telling you, you know. Look, guys, the true history of the Latinos in this nation is a story of true heroism. We have been part of this nation's fight for history since the beginning. If it wasn't for Latinos, the southern flank of the United States would have still been controlled by the British, and George Washington would have been outflanked. But Hispanics, Spanish soldiers took control of the Gulf Coast away from the British, and that allowed George Washington to just focus on one front and not two fronts. It was Latino soldiers who stood side by side at the Battle of New Orleans in the War of 1812 and kept the British from taking control of the Mississippi again. They had already burned Washington, D.C., for God's sakes. And if the British had taken over New Orleans and taken control of the Mississippi River, it was game over for the United States of America in 1812.
We'd all be eating crumpets right now.
Man, I'm telling you, man. And then you had the War for Independence in Texas and California against who? A totalitarian tyrant named what? Santa Anna. Just think about all of the battles, all of the wars, all of the heroes that Latinos have, but yet all we get is Hispanic Heritage Month? Hell no! We deserve Hispanic History Year. We deserve Hispanic History Era. Because we have been part of this history since the beginning. And then, guess what, man? We are the largest decorated minority group in the country. 61 Latinos have earned medals of honor. 61. How many of our kids know that? None. Because they don't teach that, do they? Instead, they're trying to make it. They're trying to make it teach that every other race in this country has contributed to the nation except us. 61 Latinos have won the Medal of Honor. Do you know when the first one won it? Do you know where? Abraham Lincoln is the one who created the Congressional Medal of Honor, in case you didn't know. In 1863, he created the Congressional Medal of Honor. And guess what? A Latino won it at Gettysburg, vatos. At Gettysburg. During Pickett's charge, a Latino held the line during Pickett's charge, man. How many of our kids know that? Instead, they're wearing "Si se puede" pendejadas.
Si se pendejadas.
Unbelievable.
You, man.
Unbelievable, man. This is our true history, our true heritage, our true culture. If we were to teach this to our people, where do you think they would be today? They wouldn't be under the thumb, the oppressive thumb of liberal totalitarianism. They would be fighting back the way we all need to fight back. And I don't mean fighting back in any sort of revolution. I'm talking about fighting back by going in and doing this. Vote. And vote. And vote. And vote. But vote for the right people. This is how we win, guys. But we have to get active. We have to get at it. We need legal representation. We need legal support. This is a nation. We are a nation of laws. But unfortunately, right now, the laws have been turned against us. So how do you fight that? You fight that just the way every freedom-loving American has fought it, through the courts and through good attorneys and through good judges and by electing good judges and doing all of this. But we have to do this. The hell with the Congress. The hell with the president. We need to take control of the judicial. Don't forget, we have what? The executive, the legislative, and the what? Judicial. We got to take control of the judicial because the judicial, realistically, in case you can't see, the judicial is the strongest arm of government in the United States of America. And if you don't believe me, look around. The legislative, vale madre. The executive, chinga tu madre. The judicial, The judicial is it. And they know
Vale
this.
madre,
They
chinga tu
know this
madre,
because they have
madre,
studied and they use our own constitution against us. Okay? Now, so who's going to do it? There's no such thing as the black robe anymore. The Black Robe Regiment was instrumental in America's founding. Yes, the Black Robe Regiment was the number one reason that we even won the Revolutionary War. The Black Robe Regiment was the reason why the shot heard around the world was even fired, because the British were going in at all of the arms that had been stored by the pastors in the church at Lexington and Concord. That's what they were going after. They weren't going after the guys with the guns. They were going at the all of the stored arms that the pastors had allowed the revolutionary heroes to store in their church buildings at Lexington and Concord, and that led to the historic battle known as the Battle of Lexington and Concord, otherwise known as the shot heard around the world. And that started the entire, but we don't have those kind of pastors anymore, do we?
No, we don't.
No, we don't. Instead, we have pastors that they like to talk, and then they say, send me your money. Send me your money. Send me your money. Orale. And then they're wearing $50,000 suits, right? They're wearing $50,000 suits, and I andan las esposas with so much plastic surgery that I don't know what happened to all the plastic bottles. The plastic bottles weren't recycled. They went into all these pastors' faces.
We can go do a prayer walk.
Man, I'm just telling you, man.
Do a prayer walk. That
I'm
might help.
just telling you. If the entire world was changed by one man and some dedicated followers, then America can be changed by one person and a few dedicated people.
Amen.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to take. Dedication and huevos.
Dedication and huevos. I've heard it
But
all.
who's going to give us? But hey, but in this country, only one person's going to be able. Only one group's going to give you the huevos, and that's the judicial. And we have to take over the judicial, guys. And those are the facts, man. It's that simple. It's that simple.
I want to drop something real quick on that, because what he's saying, so about the judicial system, that's the reason it was targeted. And I'll tell you something. Go look up all the list of Democrat senators and officials, right? Democrat lawmakers, right? If you start looking back at them, they're all have two things in common. They're usually lawyers and they're usually organizers. They're usually lawyers and they're usually organizers. This is and here's the thing: is that lawyers are really great at junking up the system. They know how to use political jargon and they know how to use terminology to entrap people with stuff, right? So you have a bunch of lawyers who figured out how to change the system and they're usurping it. Now, did this happen on accident? Did all these people just kind of no? Okay, so we know that there's a source for all of this, and if you go back far enough, you actually find that the source is a man named Cecil John Rhodes, I believe is his name. You guys have heard of the Rhodes Scholarship Program? So there was this guy who was incredibly wealthy, and when he died, he left no money to his children or heirs. All his money went into a fund, and that trust fund funds something called the Rhodes Scholarship Program. And the Rhodes Scholarship Program provides money to pay for young, rich, white, elitist children to be sent to Oxford University to be indoctrinated with some agenda of global benevolent communist government that must be created by manipulating the legal systems of these countries and conglomerating them into a single government. And in order for that to happen, they need to put these people in all these positions in office around the world and high corporations and all this other stuff to make it happen. And that's what he left his money behind to do. That was his big dream. And people who believe in this benevolent global government of communism, like John, sounds like a John Lennon song, Imagine. The people that support that have supported that, they love Rhodes and the fact that he left his money behind, and they know about this agenda. Even at his funeral, Rudyard Kipling spoke and said that his spirit was going to become that of the land, and that he would quicken, he would come back and take control of the land, his spirit, something to that effect. And I think he was referencing into the fact that this guy left behind his money to complete a mission. And as far as I can tell, it has been incredibly successful, and nobody knows that it's going on. And if you guys really want to understand the the depth of it, you can check out the work of Dr. Stanley Monteith, who for 40 years researched what these people had done, what these organizations were doing, where this money was coming from, and the purpose of it, and compiled it into a book called The Dark Brotherhood.
Wow. Man, I feel so privileged being on this podcast tonight. I'm getting educated tonight. Quincy, I'm getting educated tonight.
Yep.
This has been phenomenal, guys. I mean, I am thankful that you guys were able to come on tonight. On Stand Up, Stand Out America. I mean, that I named my podcast on Friday night, Stand Up, Stand Out America, because of the very thing that we're talking about. It's like, it's time to not just keyboard warrior. It's not time to, be just showing up at events and, the high life and chandeliers and being the guest of honor somewhere. It is time for action. Now, I've always been about action, in a obviously strategic. I'm very strategic about what I do, and you, Angel, you said it, earlier. We're not going to save everybody, but we have to find like-minded people like us. And we have to start doing what Luchador says, is we have to start building our own movement. And it's going to be a few. It's not going to be a lot, because not everybody is ready to commit to this kind and be dedicated to doing what is needed to do. And so we have to do these things. And so I'm very grateful that you guys had the time and joined me on my show tonight on Stand Up, Stand Out America. And I know Quincy and Angel, you were not expecting Luchador. I had a conversation with him yesterday. I said, you know what? He was just going off, and I was like, you know what? You have something to say? Come on the show tomorrow. Be the special guest. The guys will love you anyway, and so, Luchador, what I love is that you are so schooled and educated in history and politics. And you bring a wealth of knowledge to especially, and I know that we say a lot about Latinos and Hispanics, but, Quincy, much love to you. We're all Hispanic, Latino, okay? Everybody. The Republican Party always says, oh, the Hispanics, they don't know they're Republican, but they really are Republican. And I'm like, oh, God, I hate when they say that.
Republicans that they're Latino.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, no, it's that you are Latino. So it's the same thing. I'm like, hey, we're going to be like, I'm going to have the mentality of the Cubans, right? The Cubans, Miami is no longer Miami. Miami is now Cuba. Okay. And the Cubans own Miami. Okay. So I'm going to do what we need to do, what the Cubans have done in Miami. Latinos we need to take over this country in a whole other fashion. And listen, it may take reaching across the aisle to some of these organizations that are Latino led, that are in their mind, they're fighting for the same thing. They want freedom. They think they're fighting for freedom and liberty.
But we could use those people on our side. Believe it.
We can. It just takes education. They've been told. Now I'm not saying all of them. I'm not saying all of them.
We're gonna start our own Lulac, Valdez. Then forget about them. We have to start our own. We're gonna call it Orale, and you know that. That's how we're gonna Orale.
Hey, I'll tell you guys something. I got a friend we can link up with. Have you guys ever heard of the Latino Wall Street?
No.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
But you have if you're in financial industry. So Latino Wall Street was founded by a guy named Tony Delgado. He's the CEO of Disrupt Magazine. All entrepreneur based, big in the tech space. Dude has been coding since the second grade. This guy just moved his businesses to Puerto Rico. He's looking to really build a network through the Latino Wall Street community. And you don't have to be Latino to be a part of it, but it's focused on targeting Latinos because all the things that Luchador was saying here today. And he really wants to educate them on becoming financially independent, financially free, and legally hiding money and assets from the government, which you can do legally. There's nothing wrong with it. He knows all of these, and he's trying to get that out there too and educate people. And he's actually a good friend of mine. He's also a client. Me and him work together. He would be a good person to plug in with for what you're talking about. But I think that's a core the core education for the people in our community has to be the focus of what we haven't been focusing on and what the elites have been focusing on, right? So when the system fails, it all comes down and they come after everybody. These people know they'll be protected. They know their assets are protected. They know that have a right to travel, and they'll have their jets and their whatever. And everyone can be protected in that sense as well, too, if they go again through the proper channels and put their into protective trust. So that's something that I know Tony is trying to educate people more on as well. So
we need to definitely get. Does he do podcasts? Will he come on a podcast?
100%.
Let's do it.
I'll hit him up. I can call him.
Let's do it. All right, perfect. I love it. I love it. This is awesome. Hey, it had to take a podcast to get all this going. I'm excited. I am excited right now. Quincy.
Yes.
What are we going to name Quincy? Quincy can't be Quincy. You can't be Quincy no more. You got to be Juan. Quincy, you Juan, brother. Come on.
He looks like a Chucky.
He looks like a Chucky. You guys are funny. Anyway, listen, guys, I love you guys. I know I've gone over. Normally, my podcast is an hour. Me and Quincy did a podcast, and we blasted way
like 2 hours almost. Yeah.
Yeah, almost 2 hours. I mean, it was crazy, but we had a lot to say, guys. I mean, this is an hour. It's not enough, and we're 4 of us. So I'm gonna have my content, my marketing team, cut up our podcast in segments, and then I'm gonna push it through Instagram, so you guys can also push it through Instagram, because that's the one place.
Let's do it again.
We can't do it. Yeah, I think this is awesome.
Yeah.
Luchador, hey man, orale. We're gonna get this done. I think once you.
And wait, Quincy, I got something. Cool Khan. We're gonna call you Cool Q. Cool Q. Not Cool Khan. Cool Q, man. That's that Quincy. Cool Q.
All right.
Cool Q, man.
I love that.
Okay, no.
I like it. All right.
I love it. I love it. No, we need to do this again. And Angel, let's organize a podcast with your friend there. I really am very interested, and I think that we need to move in that direction and moving it really fast. We need to move in it really, really fast. And I think if we put it all together and orale, if we start this orale, my vision is we do need to create a Cesar Chavez movement. But that type of movement for freedom and liberty, and get rid of the D and the R, and bring people together in unity.
If we do this right, the D and the R will be history, because they need to be.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm gonna say something, and I hope you
I do gotta go though. I'm sorry, guys. I do gotta go.
Right.
So.
That's cool, yeah. Quincy. Kutalquan Q.
Cool Q. Cool Q. Cool Q, man.
All right. Quincy's out. Quincy's out. But yeah, Luchador, say what you gotta say.
I gotta jump off here.
George Washington, when he was being sworn at his last speech before he left office, stated that he never, ever wanted the United States to have political parties. He said he abhorred political parties because eventually they would evolve into organizations that are only self-serving.
Yes.
And tell me that has not come to fruition, what George Washington warned us about against allowing political parties. This is what we have. That's why the D and the R got to go. And we have to create some new movements in the United States and let people use logic and freedom to make decisions, and not politicians who are only self-serving make the decisions for them. That's it.
I like it. All right, guys. Listen, thanks for tuning in tonight on Stand Up, Stand Out America. Angel, thank you for coming on the show. Luchador, again, and we're going to do this again, guys. We're going to do this again. We need to definitely come on and do these podcasts. I think we need to start really educating and pushing out the message out there, and finding other people that are, like-minded as well. Guys, if you want to reach out to me, you know where to find me, Bianca for Texas, on any of the social media. You can also go to latinosforamericafirst.com or .org. Luchador, I know we can't really, there's not really a whole bunch of social media you got, right?
No. No, that's hey, man. You talk about brujeria. That's the brujeria right there, man. Social media. So I stay away from the brujo.
Well, I know, but we got to communicate one way. Angel, where can they find you, Angel?
Once again, Gold Pills with 2 Z's on Instagram and on Twitter. Gold Pill Patriot on YouTube. Or you can just look up my name on Facebook, Angel Fraijo, Fraijo.
Yeah, awesome.
they can contact me through my good friend and my hermana, Bianca Gracia, man. Thank you so much, Bianca.
All right, guys. Peace
Angel,
out.
un orgulloso ser tu amigo, mi hermano.
Yeah. Hey.
Thank you.
Peace out, guys. Thanks a bunch. Everybody have a great weekend.